I'm just going to talk about how we prepared or how we're preparing for the implementation, what our plan is at TxDOT. I'm going to talk about research that is available and obstacles that we foresee in the future. What we did at TxDOT is we created a list of devices and hardware that we wanted to carry forward. We developed a budget for those items to test them to MASH. We're working on securing funding, and we are looking at coordinating with other states. So in order to create the list, Bridge Division, Traffic Division, Maintenance Division, and Design Division all got together, and we created our respective list of items that we currently use today that we thought we might want to carry forward after the sunset dates. The factors that we used, we did a search, for MASH tested devices to see if there's anything that was comparable that we could use for the devices that we had there. We eliminated some devices based on the fact that we didn't think that they might not pass the MASH testing, so we didn't really want to commit funds to that. So we didn't. We eliminated some of those devices from our list. So in developing a budget for testing, we consulted with TTI to find out the number of tests required for each piece of hardware that we wanted tested. A preliminary budget is just, it was very vague. We had, for maintenance, design, and traffic, we just used a generic number for those crash tests. And Bridge, TTI gave us a little bit more detailed estimate for those because they require a bit more construction and time. Okay, we are working on securing funding. Some states have already secured funding and have funding and are ready to go. TxDOT is working on getting funding. Our first option was to put together a presentation to administration, letting them know why we were updating to MASH and why it was important, what the consequences were if we didn't upgrade to MASH, and then ask them for dedicated money to run this crash test. If we don't get that money, then we do have a research budget for some other things that's typically used for innovative research that we could possibly use some of that for, but it would take up all of that money if we did it, and more. We probably still wouldn't have enough to get it all done in time. This is, so the coordinating efforts. Currently, right now, we only have two that we're coordinating with. We're coordinating with Caltrans and we're coordinating with Florida DOT. So we were, Caltrans, we both traded lists of items that we intend to test. So I sent them all the items from design, maintenance, traffic, and maintenance that we intend to test. And they sent us their list, and we're just going over the list and deciding what's similar enough that we may be able to collaborate on and make save some money if we can both go in on it together. With Florida, we have specific items that they contacted us and asked us about. So maybe there's a couple of items that they specifically want tested and that we have in common. We don't have exactly the same items, so we're kind of deciding whether or not to go forward with that. But because Texas is, we want tested what we want tested, so we don't want to compromise that. So on the implementation plan for us, so some states are adopting MASH early. They're for the safety reasons. They're before the implementation sunset dates. They're saying we only want MASH hardware on our roadways. Texas is not doing that. We'll be lucky to get it done in time. So we're just going to keep the implementation date set. Hardware that is not tested to 350, where we're urged to come up with a plan. Currently, our plan is just going to be to replace that hardware when we run into it on the roadways. In a 3R or 4R project, we'll replace that hardware then. Otherwise, we're not actively seeking out that hardware, except for in situations when it is on a bridge end. If it is protecting a bridge end, we are actively seeking those out and replacing those when the bridge rail needs replacement as well. As far as the 350 tested hardware, where we are encouraged to replace that hardware, TxDOT has yet to define what damage beyond repair means. Each state is encouraged to define that for themselves. We have a couple of things on the table. We can either replace it whenever it's hit for any reason, and not stock any of the old parts, so we won't repair it at any time. We'll just replace it with new MASH tested device, which could be very expensive and use up a lot of maintenance budget, but you don't stock a lot of parts that you don't need. Or we have to come up with some other definition to replace these devices when it's necessary to replace them. So when we took an effort to prioritize our testing, it took a little while to prioritize it. We considered whether we had to run every test or not, or whether we had to run all the test matrix. The factors that we considered were the sunset dates in prioritizing this, the cost of testing the device, the confidence in passing the test, what need the device fills, and the proposed research we have on the table. So the sunset dates, none of these are really took priority over anything else. It was just all together. So we knew we had bridge rails are the last category that we needed, but we know that they would take the longest to perform, so we have some in year 1, year 2, and year 3. We also had to consider whether we thought it was going to be close to passing or not. If it was a need something that we were going to need, we moved it up earlier if we thought it might have a question of whether it was going to pass or not. That way, if it fails, we still have time to come up with innovative research to fill that need. Proposed research, we do have some items that we have some proposed research for innovative research that may fill some of those needs. So we move those down on the list just in case we get those innovative research projects approved. So the research that is going on that I'm familiar with is there's a MASH coordination effort in the pooled fund. This project will list all of the MASH devices that are tested and list them in one convenient location for all the states to go to and provide a location that's easy to get to. It'll list all the states' desired hardware that they want to test in an effort to encourage coordination and reduce chances of duplication of efforts there. TxDOT will use this when we get this research done. We'll be looking to partner with other states as we find other similar hardwares that we want to test. We'll be looking to reduce costs and partner with other states. Hopefully, we'll be able to use it as a means to standardize as well. Maybe we can adopt some other states' hardware, and they can adopt ours, and we won't have so many different kinds. Nchrp 20-7, a systematic hardware replacement tool. I'm not involved in this project, but this project will make a tool that will make it possible for states to evaluate on a cost basis the advantages of, or make a priority list of getting rid of the hardware. So like the older hardware that's pre-350 tested, every dollar is important, so you have to use it wisely. Some of those items might be that are pre-350 tested. It might be better to get rid of one rather than the other if you don't have money to get rid of everything. So if you're going to actively seek out these items, this tool will help you to decide what you're going to actively seek out and replace on your roadways. TxDOT hasn't actually decided to do that, but we'll use the tool to decide if we should or not. So some of the obstacles that we foresee would be The maintenance contracts that we have, the on-call maintenance contracts, currently most of them run for 2 years. We'll have a really hard time including the new hardware as it comes in on those contracts when it comes in as we approach the sunset dates. That'll be difficult for us to do. Obsolete stock, so getting rid of the obsolete stock as we approach the sunset dates will also be a problem. We may have delayed innovative research problems if we have to use that budget for that. And for the proprietary products, currently TxDOT, we require about 1.5 years in-service evaluation of products, but we don't know if we're going to get those the proprietary products in time in order to get that 1.5 years in. So we may have a problem getting those on the qualified products list in time. Those are just the things that we see that may happen. So that's it.